So this is the Peak Wave Tecroll versus the Qiaodan TG1.0, or known as the Lei Li 1.0. I'll just keep this video short. You can watch my full reviews of each here in my channel. Here I'll just talk about my experiences with both and their differences. So why compare these two? First thing that stands out is both have a lot of forefoot stack. On my US size 10, the Qiaodan TG1.0 has 36 millimeters in the forefoot, while the Peak Wave Tecroll has around 40 millimeters. Heel-wise, the Peak is 40 millimeters at the heel, so it's a full zero drop shoe. While the TG1.0 is slightly taller, around 44 millimeters on my US 10. Officially, the TG1.0 is listed at 35 in the forefoot and 42 millimeters in the heel. I think that's a US size 8, so basically a 7 millimeter drop. On mine, it's around 8 millimeters, but that's a rough measurement. Peak didn't publish official numbers, but again, it's a zero drop shoe, so if mine is 40 millimeters on a US 10, it could be 2 to 3 millimeters below for a US 8. Since we're talking about the forefoot, one thing to note is that the Peak Wave Tecroll doesn't have a forefoot sidewall. That's not really uncommon, and like most other shoes without forefoot rails, if your foot moves and lands on the edge, your toes or your midfoot can spill over. The Qiaodan at least has some rails here in the forefoot. Unfortunately for me, mine started dying at around 30 kilometers and it went all downhill from there. It really felt flat after 150 kilometers. The foam just collapses and squishes without that much return. You're just really slapping on a harsh slab of foam. But when this was new, I'd easily pick the Qiaodan. The fit is roomy but secure, not a race fit. It's also not plush, not really that comfy, but good enough. The stack height is actually more than enough. The foam wasn't really that explosive when I took it out of the box, but the energy return was really quick enough. You could feel the foam holding some air, like there's some air bubble around here, and then it would pop as you exited that roll. It's slightly unsteady forward-wise, but it never went out of control. Sort of reminds me of the Nike Invincible one, just a toned down version of it. The Invincible was explosive and was just pure 100% PIBA. The Qiaodan is a PIBA infused EVA blend, 2 to 3 notches mellowed down. Would have been great if it stayed the same for me, like some of you commented that it's just fine after 200 kilometers. 30 kilometers, I did start noticing that starting to feel flat around 16 kilometers on my long runs. On the forefoot, it would just collapse here inward, and then in the middle there wasn't that return anymore. The very compressed bottom part of the foam actually starts to feel harsher over time, and again, others have pairs that didn't really degrade like mine. If yours still has a good squish with some resilience and return, then yeah, if mine is still like that, I'd take the TG1.0 over the Peak, because again, not a super lively foam, but it just gives you enough energy return, especially for the cushion and stack height. And just to be clear, with shoes like this, the actual stack starts below these sidewalls. Some reviewers have included those and have called this max stack, which it really isn't. Anyway, that's why I prefer the Qiaodan like when it was new. Now, I don't want to gamble and buy another new pair of the Qiaodan 1.0. I probably would have sold my TG 1.0 and just gambled on another pair. Since I am reviewing, I kind of thought I would buy another pair, but then I saw this while scrolling and I thought I'd rather spend my money for something new to review, and this was it. I went in blind. Someone mentioned this in my comment section before, but I forgot that this was zero drop. When it arrived, I was kind of excited and a bit surprised at the zero drop. It genuinely felt like the shoe could cost double than what I paid this for. I paid around 2,563 pesos, or roughly around $43. The upper isn't really that premium soft daily trainer kind of level, but it is good. Kind of a racier kind of vibe, but the foam here is the highlight. It's not really that springy or exciting, but still lively. The way it responds to pace changes kind of reminds me like the Evo SL, but a bit mellower, I guess. Maybe because of the early rocker. I think that's kind of similar where your toes actually land. That said, I'd still put it below the Evo SL. It's not really the same kind of response. The Evo USL also sinks a bit deeper and gives you more of a squishier kind of sensation. So I guess it's a bit more lively. Some would actually even call it a bit more firm because the USL does pop and does distribute the energy evenly. While this one, you can see a cutout here and it's quite of a bit flexible here on the sides. So it's not really that slappy or pop kind of a shoe. In the midfoot, you actually get a mushier feel from the cutout because you're landing on thinner rails. It's a controlled kind of mush. It's a bit mushier here in the lateral side, but it's not a 1080 level kind of a soft. It's more like only in this part here at the bottom that you can feel the mush. Now here in the base, the cutout here really isn't that deep. Once you squish this thin layer, you hit the limit here, like the bottom of the exposed midsole here. It's kind of soft, but once you hit it, you can feel the resilience. Heel striking actually feels softer than the midfoot, but it's not overly cushioned even at 40 millimeters. And I think it's kind of tricky because I don't think this is a true 40 millimeter heel shoe. There's a huge cut here on the bevel and you're actually having less than 40 millimeters. I think when you land, you're still landing a big part here near the midfoot, so that there is 40 millimeters. But if you're a heavy heel striker, there's actually less force traveling up your legs, as there's really less material that you're hitting here. For me though, I did kind of miss that heel on some inclines that I was doing, and especially if you're a heavy heel striker, you really want that traction from the heel to the forefoot when going up. Otherwise, steady running, it really does work. There's less impact that I felt here in the heel. If you have decent calves and a very good forefoot drive, this one really feels smooth. And despite what other people are saying about a big heel cutout, feeling like you're always running uphill, this one doesn't. And weirdly, the 361 Flame 3 with an actual drop actually feels more like a negative drop versus this one. You really feel like you're on top of it and not sitting inside. Put it all together with that slight mush at the bottom, resilient midsole in the middle, seamless transition here to the early rocker. You really have a very smooth ride in this one. Now, despite the early rocker though, it's not an aggressive rolling kind of shoe like on plated shoes or those with a late rocker but aggressive toe spring. This one is just kind of smooth but not very assistive, so it's really fitting for a daily trainer. Now the downsides with this one versus the TG1.0 is that if you're okay with some heel contact, the Qiaodan does have a wider base. It does feel more stable and it has a healthier drop. While the Peak is nimble, it doesn't really translate to speed, at least not for me. I wouldn't treat it as a speed or fast workout shoe. Plus the Peak is zero drop, and personally I don't really do well running fast with zero drop shoes. Easy to moderate paces or long runs are okay. They're good for training your muscles like your calves and your forefoot drive, but speed workouts are just a no for me. I really do like a healthier drop for my speed shoes. And stability wise, the stability really comes from you because you are standing flat. Better is a shoe with a few millimeters of drop plus a wide soft heel that smoothens things out, which the TG1.0 does have. It also felt lighter doing marathon through half marathon paces when it was new before it became flat. And again, after 30 kilometers to 150 kilometers, it started to change and the energy return was just lacking for me. So if the TG1.0 hadn't degraded on me, or maybe I could have bought a new pair and tested it out, I'd still choose this one. More lighter feel, a good fit, enough mushiness in the heel to midfoot, not really much of a pop unlike the Nova Blast. But for me, the Nova Blast 5 was the better all-around shoe because it had that pop, was flexible, doesn't really kind of feel harsh. But if you're heavy heel striking, more ground contact, it's mushier there. It just feels okay as an all-around shoe. Just was overpriced for me. But more importantly, the TG1.0 or the Lei 1.0 is cheaper than the Nova Blast 5. It's also cheaper than the Peak Wave Tecroll just by a few hundred pesos. Since mine collapsed 150 kilometers and fell flat, the long run shoe that I tend to go to now is the Peak Wave Tecroll. Now I'm gonna be honest, it's really not that exciting using this more and more. I do like the forefoot cushioning on this one, but the more I kept using this, I mean, it's okay. It's just that when I kept using the Xtep 2000 km 5.0, I kind of prefer that pleasant feeling. Runs around 21 to 25 kilometers. I use it and I don't feel the cushioning there is lacking. This one does have more cushioning, but I don't know, it could be placebo or something else. But when I go out for a run, I really do like to pick up the Xtep. Over time, there's slight loss with the resilience. It's a bit more cushiony now, but still has good energy return. Still has that mushy, spongier kind of feel. Anyway, I guess that's all my observations or comparisons for these two. As always, keep running, stay fit, and always be kind.